230. Can do it. Well, I took a few keys. Actually not that crazy many, right? 24 down. Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Today I want to bring you what I think is the best build currently in the game. I've beaten Abattoir of Zir tier 24 with that. The link is going to be in the description. I've attempted a few 25s as well. I think with a high level glyph it certainly is possible to beat it. But it's going to be quite some grinding to get the glyph up in the end. And it's still going to be very hard to beat tier 25 because they scale like times 4 HP. But yeah, many of you have asked me like how exactly I do my rotation, because there's a lot of nuances, a lot of in-depth stuff we want to get into. I will show you the build, I will show you my setup in this video, everything. There's going to be timestamps in the description because this will probably be a long video. There's also a sheet that I compiled. It looks like this. This is basically the frequently asked questions. That's also going to be in the description. And yeah, we're going to go through everything. This video is not going to have that much gameplay. I will show you a couple of things and clips as well. But as you saw in the intro, there's some crazy and a lot of footage on my YouTube already. And this will just focus on the in-depth mechanics. So let's just get into it. First of all, I want to start with a disclaimer basically. This Barb build, like this variation of the HotA Barb, is very hard to play. I mean, it is the best build in the game, but that comes with its challenges, and it requires you to actually be a gamer. Like you need some skill to play this build. It is not recommended for like a more like casual player that doesn't really like play the game all too much. Like this is gonna be a hard build to play for. Like if you don't have that much time, I just recommend the normal HotA build that I will also link in the description. But this is like a weapon swap, rotation-based, DPS, high min-maxed endgame build. And yeah, you need to pay attention to a lot of things, and you just don't just hold down smash. So just very simply, for the start, I will walk you over the rotation. I have the more detailed version that we're also going to go over, but just on a very simple, like you must get some in-game settings right to optimize the rotation. You use your shouts. You hold down your force move, you start spinning Whirlwind, you also hold it down, and then you tap HotA every 0.5 seconds depending on your attack speed, and you don't let go of the Whirlwind key, and you basically just win. The reason why we do this is because our Earth Striker aspect, this one here, whenever we switch our weapons, so I'll just show you here, when I switch my weapon, I just smash here, and my weapon switches, and I get a stack. And if I get 8 stacks, we get 50% damage bonus, but the most important thing is we get a guaranteed overpower. And this is basically our main way to proc overpower. In previous builds that you might have seen here on the channel, that you might have seen around, we used timer-based overpower procs, but this is not enough to compete in the high Abattoir of Zir tiers, as you need, as you only have 10 minutes time and you need a lot of damage and a lot of overpower procs to make that damage. So you are now focused on doing a rotation and weapon switches, and you can scale this mechanic or this way to proc overpower. You don't just have to wait 20 seconds, you can actually perform 8 attacks, and you're only limited by how fast you can perform these attacks. And that's the reason why we stack attack speed, and we also animation cancel our HotA and also our Whirlwind by using a very specific mechanic in the game. And what this allows you to do is just basically proc overpowers like there's no tomorrow. Like you're procking an insane amount of overpowers, and that's why this rotation is for as well. And you can min-max this a lot if you min-max your attack speed, if you min-max your playstyle. You can basically deal up to 50, I think it's even up to 100% more damage if you use this kind of playstyle. So it's like twice as strong as normal builds or normal HotA Barbs. Probably even stronger. It's like very hard to say in the high end like how far it's optimized, because I've been playing this build now for 3 days, and originally credits go out to Chinese creators. I've been actually talking to a lot of them. One of them is Czing, and there's some other people involved. I'll also put their links in the description. So the original idea came to them, but this basically combines two of the cool mechanics that Barb has, which is Whirlwind and HotA into one. And I'll just show you the rotation here in practice real quick. So You make sure you have the buffs up on the target. You actually don't want to proc it with your Ravenous. I'll get into that in a bit as well. But what you basically do is you hold down Shift key. I mean, I have it set up in my options already. And you hold down Force Move. I do this on my mouse wheel. And you press your shots to get your Fury. And then you start spinning. You start smashing. And you start dishing out like basically insane amounts of damage, like you see here. Like we're hitting in the like tens of billions, and like I mean depending really on like what kind of rotation and what kind of buffs are active. But this is like one of the hardest and yeah, strongest builds to play in the game. And you can see here we can do the rotation pretty fast because we have quite a bit of attack speed stacked. And this is still like not optimally. Like you can still do this faster, I think, if you practice it a bit more, and obviously if you stack more attack speed, that helps a ton as well. But yeah, that's basically what we do here. And yeah, we're gonna get into the min-max rotation here. So first of all, what you need to know is this build is a lot easier to play on controller. I'll show you here why, and I made a previous video already. On controller, what you can do, just plug in my controller here. So controller is crazy because you can basically smash and walk at the same time. Like, look at this. Like, you can basically smash and walk. It does not work on the PC like that. And you also have this like auto aim that is in the game. So it's like this function on the controller, like you see here. If I get it correctly, hit here. Okay, here I can actually spin in place. Like I'm only pressing one button on my controller and I can spin in place. This is impossible to do on mouse and keyboard. And what you can then do is just tap your HotA. And what this achieves already, it just completely destroys any rotation you need to do because it's like super easy on the controller. But that's controller, and I don't really play on the controller. So there it can get pretty easy. But on mouse and keyboard it's a lot more difficult. And I want to mainly get into that in this video. So it's way harder to do properly. First of all, you need to start with the right settings. So what I do is I go under Options, Accessibility, and I make sure Persist Target Lock is turned off. I also make sure I enable Player Highlight. This is like the green Hulk smash kind of color that you have around me, that I have around me. And this helps you to recognize where your character is in the game. Because what you want to do is, as you do your rotation, you want to try to smash like close to your feet, as close to your feet as possible, because that will reduce the range and the animation of the HotA. Because when you persist in the target lock, like I don't know why, but it does the HotA a lot slower. So you want to make sure you smash below your feet. So you want to see where your character is at all times. This is also why I changed my mouse color to be pink, so it's like very recognizable when I'm in a pool surrounded by monsters. And the second thing you want to do is on Options, and this is what worked the best for me. Does not mean it works the best for you. There's different options, different ways to do this, but this is how I did it. So I bound my whole position to my right click, which is Whirlwind, and to my HotA hotkey, which is Q. So I can, so what this achieves, I don't know why the game works like this, but what this achieves is you never have to press stand still. So it always, like you see when I do my attack, I don't do anything, I only press my Q. And you see my cursor changes, it looks like a sword now, and that means it automatically presses the shift basically every time I tap Q. And this helps you tremendously because that allows you to not hold down shift all the time. Because in order for the animation cancel to work, you need to hold down force move and you need to hold down shift. And this eliminates 50% of the things you have to hold down. It's the shift is I usually press it with my pinky, and your pinky will thank you for this hold position hotkey bind. So like this, I can Whirlwind and smash without a target. It's very important. See, this is how when we do it without any force moves. It's very slow without force moves. So those are like kind of the settings. So it should look like this. I put screenshots here in the description. Everything is going to be there. And yeah, this is how the cursor changes to the sword. So this ensures you are to force stand still every time you cast it. Cursor will automatically change. So setup for force move. I like you can just press down the key, right? If you press down the force move key, it looks like this. It's exactly the same behavior as when I move on my controller. And I think that's one of the reasons why controller is so much better, because whenever you move, it just holds down your force move permanently. See that there's no commands it sends. If I use it on my mouse wheel, it looks like this. Or like the slow version looks like this. But you can just hold down the key if you like. This is one way to do it. I have a Logitech G502, and I have the force move wheel up here, and I have a button here that I can press, and it unlocks the wheel, and I can just keep, like, it just keeps spinning, and it keeps sending these commands into the game as long as it's spinning, basically. Here, this is how it looks. And that allows me to interrupt my Whirlwind and my HotA animation and make it way faster. But again, you can also just hold down the button, but then you have to like hold down one button with your finger for like 10 hours if you're playing for 10 hours. And it's not the best in my opinion, because it can get you some illnesses with your fingers and stuff. So you want to be a bit careful what you do there. So I prefer the mouse way, like just do it like this. Basically spin the wheel, and I just keep spinning it whenever I play. And that's pretty easy because it spins for a minute, and I just need to remember like every minute to like, you know, spin it again. That's what I use. But again, just holding down a force move works. And this will significantly improve your rotation speed, basically. So yeah, gameplay, we already went over this. Like you go into the trading grounds here on top of Overshot on the 5 dummies here. And you can practice the rotation. If you do it correctly, you also should never run out of fury. I have these questions down here as well. We never run out of fury because we have two things. We have Furious Impulse, which gives every time we switch weapon, we gain 6 fury. And we have our Paragon Weapons Master. So swapping weapons grants us 4% of our fury. And we stack a lot of fury. We have 255 fury right now, which is quite a lot. And if you play with Melted, you have even more. But yeah, we're playing Vanished, so 255. So 4% of that is a lot. And then it gets multiplied by all your fury generation. So you get another double and another, I don't know, a quintuple whenever you have all your buffs up. You get ×4. So you're basically getting, we can do the math, like 255 times 0.04. This is the 4%, 10, and then another 6 on the passive, and this is multiplied by ×4. So you're getting like 60 fury whenever you switch your weapons, and if you have all your buffs up, and you can see this in practice as well. That's how I can just like, you know, basically maintain my rotation. Like you see my fury just like goes down for a sec and then it goes up again. Goes down for a sec, goes up again. Goes down for a sec, goes up again. Like really smooth. And if you have attack speed, you notice you can do this here as well, like without even hitting any monsters. See, this is how the rotation should look. Like it should be really fast. If I do this without force moving and without hold stand still, it looks like this. See how much slower it is? You can still maintain your fury if you do it right, but it's a hell of a lot slower. Like I think it's probably even 3 times slower. I don't know, it's hard to say. But yeah, that's why we stack the stuff. Next thing we need to get into is how to snapshot your attack speed. I already made a separate video that I will also link in the description. So there is basically a bug with Ravenous. Whenever you use Metamorphosis, you can see it in your sheet already. Whenever you use Metamorphosis, here, when I just dash, 100 movement speed, when I use Metamorphosis, you see it's 24 for a second. Do it again. 24. And whenever you apply or use Metamorphosis when you engage in a lead, and it procs your Ravenous, you will snapshot this bad attack speed, and you will lose a lot of attack speed. And you definitely want to avoid that, because you basically lose 100% attack speed, and your Ravenous gives you 40% of your total movement speed. So you kind of don't want to lose 40% movement speed here, 40% attack speed here. So you gotta be a bit careful that you first proc your Ravenous with your HotA. So you see now we have it, and now even if we dash, it's fine. Like we just keep it up like this. And HotA has 50% lucky hit, so it's like very easy. You just do like one or two like quick smashes before you even start with the stuff, and it's gonna be fine. So what you do next is like, again, you hold down your force move, you start whirlwinding on a target dummy, you never ever let it go, like you just hold it down all the time basically, and then you tap your HotA, and your HotA taps depend a bit on your attack speed. So with the current meta, we get 15% on our gloves, and we get 15% if you have the perfect roll on your ring. My ring is actually not that great, but yeah, that's how you get double attack speed roll. And then you also have the Ravenous, and what you get there is you get movement speed from Rallying Cry and movement speed from Warcry here. That gives you Berserk, and you can see it gives you another 15%. And these two things you snapshot whenever you proc it, and then you start spinning normally. So you're basically snapshotting the movement speed from Rallying Cry and from Berserking to proc your Ravenous, and then you keep up this Ravenous buff basically until the pull or the bosses are dead. So you're getting very close to the attack speed cap, which is 100%, and even if you don't have perfect gear, we also do have the Carnage board. And if you do it like not 100% perfect with the snapshot, it's also fine, because the Carnage board should get you to the cap, because we want to attack every 0.5 seconds basically. And it gives you another 16% when we're berserking. We will berserk all the time because we have attack on the boots here. It gives us 40% chance to proc berserking on a core skill, and both hammer and whirlwind are core skills, and we are procking this like crazy. So those two things together will make the snapshot work fully. You will also get a feeling after some time like how fast you can smash with certain attack speeds, because this is like you can adjust on the fly depending on if you have all the buffs up or not, or if you get the snapshot right and everything. And yeah, if you did everything right, again the rotation should look like this, like I showed it here in a clip. I'll also have this in the sheet basically, and yeah, we already like went over that. So it's very fast if you do it correctly. And yeah, the damage also obviously like skyrockets. You're hitting for a couple billion every time. There's an advanced rotation, obviously, if you're doing the run. You want to do all the stuff while you also maintain your target's will buffs, or at least the unstoppable buffs for your metamorphosis. So you want to dash every 4 seconds to stay unstoppable, or like cycle your Rallying Cry and your Rust the Berserk. It also gives you unstoppable. So you gotta like rotate these kind of buffs to always have the damage buff up, or if you don't play targets, which I do in the push setup, I don't play them. You at least always want to keep the unstoppable up, because if you get frozen or if you get like stunned or something, it can be the end of you very quickly, especially if you don't play Melted Heart, right? So that can happen very, very fast to you. And yeah, you want to keep up your shouts at all time. You want to use your the Berserk very strategically. If you have a big pull, then you use it because it doubles your damage again. Gives you crazy berserking. And this can also, since it gives you 20% movement speed, can also be used for the Ravenous snapshot, if you want to min-max like that. So yeah, lots of attack speed, and lots of things to pay attention to. But yeah, this is the rotation that I do. Again, you can read about all the stuff here, because I know there is a lot to take in. It took me about 2 to 3 days to learn this one. And yeah, let's get into some more questions, and then I will show you the full build guide overview about the gameplay. Do you need a macro? No. If you follow these steps, you don't need a macro, basically. What if I achieve the same result with a different setup? Yeah, there's different ways to do the key binding stuff, and this is just the way that worked best for me. Oh yeah, this one is really important. Which weapons do I assign? So I have the assigned weapon on Whirlwind is my dual wield, because again, dual wield is faster. You can see here, dual wield has 1.1 base attack speed, and my grandfather or 200 weapons have 1.0. So you get 10% naturally on every second weapon switch, faster attack speed. And on HotA, we use the mace. This is like, HotA needs a mace, you can't even change it, and it's 0.9. So this one is a bit slower, but that's why we stack a lot of attack speed. So if we get 100%, you almost get to half a second. It depends a bit if you have any other buffs that exceed the cap. What do we assign? Like here, why do we do this? We already talked about that. Why do we stack attack speed? We also already talked about that. Faster weapon switches, more frequent overpower procs. Again, from our Earth Striker. Just going through all the questions we had here with chat. How do we proc the bleed? So, as you notice, we did not take the grandfather with our dual wield Whirlwind. So that means we also do not have a point in the Whirlwind bleed one, because now we don't use slashing weapons, we actually have maces. So we would not apply this bleed, but we get bleeds anyways from our outburst plus tough as nail combination. And this one is really strong, Because basically whenever a monster attacks you in the Abattoir of Zir, even if you are like not like paying attention or something, if there's an archer that attacks you, it attacks you and it gets thorns damage. And this thorns damage applies a bleed, 10% of your thorns damage as bleed over for 5 seconds. And this allows us to basically play with like damage reduction from bleeding and all these like damage to bleeding enemies. It also procs several other effects. So this one is just like a 2-point wonder. Like just 2 points in these outbursts and toughness nails make every enemy that attacks you bleeding, including the Bloodseekers. You just gotta be a bit careful on the Bloodseekers to get this bleed buff up before they one-shot you. So what I like to do for the Bloodseekers is just keep a challenging shout. And a challenging shout the second the Bloodseekers spawn, and then apply my vulnerable, because we also have vulnerable damage reduction, and apply the bleeds. I mean, the bleeds will apply automatically. If these dudes just attack you, basically, and they attack you instantly. So you want to be careful and press challenging shouts so you have an extra 50% damage reduction so they don't just one-tap you. Then how do I generate Fury? We already talked about that. We basically use Weapon, Master, Paragon, and the Furious Impulse. Which rings do I choose and why? So this one is pretty important. So we have the Ring of Dreadful Roar. This one basically guarantees our attacks to always crit, because if you read here, after spending 100 Fury, your next Hammer of the Ancients is guaranteed to crit and deals bonus damage, right? I gotta find a better ring at some point, but this is the ring I have. So we get more damage, and we get a guaranteed crit when we spend 100 Fury. And you notice here, we spend 50 Fury with our Whirlwind and 50 with our Hammer. So all our attacks are basically guaranteed to crit. Like you see, like this is always a crit. Like it just keeps on coming, and the crits just keep on coming in, because we spent 70 plus 50 Fury, and then we do the next Hammer. So we always get 100. And the good thing is your Whirlwind, this is the reason why we choose Whirlwind in the first place. Whirlwind is very special. It's the only channeling spell the Barb has, and it does not work with Dreadful Roar. So Whirlwind can't take the proc away. And Whirlwind, since it's a channeling spell, it can also not take your Earthstriker proc away. So it cannot overpower at all. And it can also not take your Banished Lord proc. So even though it's a core skill, Whirlwind cannot overpower. So every proc of Banished goes to your Hammer. Every proc of Earthstriker goes also to your Hammer. And that is the main reason why we use Whirlwind. Which is also great on Whirlwind. If you Whirlwind in a bunch of monsters, you also get 1 Fury each time, or 4 Fury for each enemy. And that again, this 4 Fury is scaled again with ×4 your resource generation. So you actually get 16 Fury, and then you can spin on like 10 elites, and you actually get 160 Fury every time you spin. So yeah, the numbers go crazy with the Fury generation. And we want to generate a lot of Fury to proc our Limitless Rage, which is another 1.6. And this one, it can be consumed by Whirlwind, but it's very unlikely, because right after, even if we have full Fury, right after we smash, we don't have Fury, and then we spin and get it back. You see it? And then Limitless Rage is stacked, you see the 60, and then boom, we smash again, and we get Limitless Rage. Like it, I think in almost every case, the Limitless Rage is consumed by Hammer. Unless you get interrupted or stunned and you fuck up your rotation. But this is why it's so important also to make the rotation properly, so you get another 1.6 multiplier. So you see here, boom, Fury gets, okay, I didn't do it right. Boom, Fury gets spent, and boom, Fury generates. Boom, Fury gets spent, boom, Fury generates. Like, it's just such a good combination. And, you know, it just works. It just works. It's just so good. That's the main reason why we use Whirlwind. So we don't need any crit chance. So this is an interesting topic, because most cases you don't need crit chance. There's still a small benefit for Blast Wave Shrines, because you can actually make Blast Wave Shrines scale. Blast Wave does significant damage even on high tiers, because it scales with all your overpower, and it scales with all your crit chance, and it scales with all your generic multipliers, such as your Tears of Blood, or such as your Blood Rage. So you get a lot of like just generic multipliers, and this helps out the Blast Wave a lot. So right now I didn't optimize my gear completely yet, so I still have crit chance on the ring, and I still have it on the gloves. But I think the best in slot rolls, and most of the Chinese players are playing this, are getting main stat on your gloves and overpower on your ring. I would want to change. I need to trade for these items. So instead of crit chance, overpower. And again, instead of crit chance here, you want main stat. Main stat is a separate multiplier, so it's just always good to have. Alright, the next question I often get is how do I snapshot and how can you tell if I made the snapshot right? So let's just assume this is an Abattoir of Zir, so we go out. I'll show you my snapshot setup again. I already made a separate video, but let's just talk about it here. So we have all video, everything complete. Okay, so what we are snapshotting is this aspect here. You can also snap the element aspect. You can also snapshot the accelerating. You can also snapshot both, but you need to give up something. So I prefer to snapshot this one. So what I simply do is before the run, I equip the two-hander aspect weapon. So this one gives me 1.6, and you notice now this one is inactive. And now I go into the run. Basically, this would be the Nightmare Dungeon. So we go in with the 1.6 equipped on a two-hander. And you see here we can open the sheet and we see it's 60%, right? If it changes, it's still 60 with cold now. And then all we do is we right-click back to our main weapon. Boom, that's it. And you can clearly see here if it worked, because this thing still says 60. It should say 30, but it still says 60. And now you have a 1.6 extra multiplier with one ring slot, and it just says 60. You can do the same with accelerating. And you can see in your sheet as well, whenever you attack, your attack speed will go up by 50 instead of by 28. Oh yeah, that's as simple as you do the aspect, but again, the snapshot. But again, I wrote it down here. If it was too fast for you, you can check it out. I made a clip here and I show you where you can see this in the stats. But yeah, you can confirm it in your stats if it worked or not. And then I get a lot of questions. People ask me like, can I play this without Uber Uniques? Yes, you can. You will have worse results, obviously, because the Uber Uniques are the best in slot. Again, the planner, everything is in the description. We will go over it now as well. But you can do it without a Shaco. You would take the Tuscan. You can play this without Grandfather as well. You would take the Earth Striker, this one on the two-hander, and you would take the Edgemaster as well in the setup. Can I play this without Doombringer? Yes, you take Edgemaster instead. And if you don't have either Doombringer nor Grandfather, you take Earth Striker on a two-hander and Edgemaster as well, and the Accelerating on one of the one-handers, and then you snapshot Accelerating. And yeah, how to do the big damage? You just smash and you blast, you do the rotation right, and you will succeed, man. Like 19 should be very comfortable to clear on this build. Maybe even 20 and maybe even in the 25s. I think a lot of people will be stuck on the 24 because I also have a list here with the health scaling. And you can see here, this is my assumption. But basically 24 to 25, you need ×4 the damage, or the monsters get ×4 the HP and they have trillions of health. So yeah, even if you hit for 10 billion, you need to hit them quite some time to kill them, right? So we are just trying to get some more DPS. Okay. So I will show you the rotation one more time and then we will go over the entire setup. So we made the snapshot. We have 60%. Yes, correct. So here we set up, we make them vulnerable. We don't want Ravenous here. So we wait. So we will proc Ravenous now. We hold down force move. Again, spin the wheel. Hold the force move. Press the shouts. Start spinning. Hold spin. And then tap HotA. Tap HotA. Tap HotA. That's how it's gonna go. You can see how fast we can do these rotations. I saw like 20 billion there, I think. That was actually crazy. So yeah, this is how the rotation goes. And you see how just fast it is. Like you just rock, and you don't forget the dash, because like you will need the dash in practice as well. It makes you deal a little less DPS, but it makes you, like in the moment, but it makes you like basically get you another 1.4, and you're also not gonna get interrupted by some random affixes, right? So it's really good. Oh yeah, that's how the rotation goes. Okay, let's now go over the setup. I did a couple switches here, so I just had some DPS stuff here that we don't necessarily need. But yeah, so in the run you will play a bit more defensively than I just played. I was like doing no Doombringer and we did Talbot's Will. And what we are doing is we dropped the Melted Heart, so we're not playing Immortal Barb right now. Because on the high tier, you need the damage. if you don't have the damage with your Banished Lord, you're not winning. Because the timer is already so tight, and you can't squeeze out more damage. If you want to have a chance of clearing 25, you cannot play Immortal Barb. Immortal Barb is really good. I have a video speed farming 19s, for example. You always want to speed farm the even numbers divided by 5 minus 1. So you want to speed farm a 9, a 14, a 19, or 24, depending on, because that's right before the big jump, right? A 20 only gives you a bit more XP, glyph XP, than a 19, but it is like twice as hard. So you always want to do 19 or 14. You know, so a lot of people will also be stuck on 24. I think we will be able to speed farm 24 before we can clear 25, because again, the monster health goes up like times 4, times 5, something like that. So just keep that one in mind. So you do need the amulet. It not only does it give you more than double damage, it gives you a 2.2 multiplier, but it also almost doubles the chances of getting overpowered. And you see here, when I do the rotation, like how fast these stacks go up, right? Like if I just even do it on like normal monsters here, like hopefully you can see it because I have so many buffs there, you can't. But the stacks, let me drop some buffs here, is already at 300 again. So it basically doubles your overpower and it doubles the damage. So you basically deal 4 times more damage, roughly, because you also lose it times 1.5. So maybe like 3 times more damage with Banished Lord Talisman. And in order to survive the high tiers, I couldn't figure out a setup yet where we can survive with Abattoir. We need to drop the pants. So we are dropping a 1.4 multiplier to get a times 3 multiplier. But we are not immortal and we are still pretty squishy. Maybe at the end game to beat 25 we might need to figure out a way, or just fish for a mob type that's not that hostile. So we can play Talbot's Will, because again it gives you another 40% damage multiplicatively, that is big. But for now, like, I don't have a way how we can survive, even as a Barb, on the high tier. So we want the kind of pants that look like this. You can also have bleed. I don't have the optimal rolls here. I think I have even a better one. We played in our 25 attempts. Hopefully it's in my stash. Yeah, I have many different items. Distant one? No. Okay, here. That's not that one. Dodge chance. See, I have so many. Okay, it's this one here. So these stats I think are a little bit better. You can compare the two here. Like this is just like min-maxing the toughness rolls. I have a bleeding reduction here instead of close. And right now we're getting a lot of close damage reduction from our Paragon. So we already have a lot of close. And you want to have kind of a mix, right? Between close and range. Look, I have like a bit overkill on close. So these pants will serve me better here in this setup. We need to fix the powers. But yeah. So this is going to be my gear. So we have Shaco, Harlequin's Quest. Again, you can play a Tuscan, but Shaco is the best. It also has resource generation, which is insane. And it has 4 ranks to all skills, which gives you HotA damage. And it also gives you ranks to your shouts. And that even allows us to completely take off the ranks of our shouts and even all the points. For example, our challenging shout. I think the best in slot planner will not have any points in challenging shout. Because you don't need it, you just need it for 50% damage reduction. You don't need the fury, you don't need anything. So you get all the fury from switching weapons. So there is definitely like these kind of things that a Shaco allows you to even be able to do. Right? Like we can just get away with not putting any points in challenging shot. Because it's just not worth it. Like when we have challenging shot, we already are immortal, so we are pretty much unkillable because we have 50 extra damage reduction. So we don't need extra life, and again, we don't need the fury because we just generate it all by weapon switching. So there's these kind of things you can do with a Shaco, and obviously it also has the best defensive stats because it gives you 2.3k life, which is insane. Then the chest here, my chest is very good, but probably not 100% ideal for this build. Again, I would like to have bleed damage reduction instead of the close damage reduction here. But this one works as well. Obviously, it's a very good roll. And as you notice here, I'm a bit overcapped on armor right now. So when I have my disobedience buff up, I'm at like 15k armor, which is a bit too much. So I'm also considering dropping maybe even an armor roll on one of these items. We will see about that. Like I could roll it here, right? I could just get another damage reduction roll on these. Like just 10 damage reduction or something. I'll think about that and I'll do some more tests. But I'm going to put the optimal stats, the way that I think the perfect rolls are, in the description. So we need the Disobedience, obviously, to reach armor cap. And then we have the Gauntlets here. Again, you want main stat here instead of crit chance, ideally. But yeah, attack speed to smash faster, overpower, because, like, again, you're overpowering, only overpower does damage. And we actually end up dropping a lot of overpower because we get Doombringer and Grandfather, right? So we have right now, I believe, yeah, 1.8. It depends a bit which glyphs you play. I will get into that when we talk about the Paragon. So right now we're rocking 1.8k. But yeah, could be worse. Could be a bit less usually in the very tanky setup. Let's actually put the very tanky setup. So I will show you exactly the setup the way I pushed. It was with Undaunted, the final board. Yeah. So like this. And then we have movement speed boots here, also really important. Injured damage reduction. In general, injured damage reduction is one of the most important stats, especially if you're playing, or in particular if you're playing without Melted Heart, because the monsters in 25, especially the Bloodseekers, they will destroy you if you don't have damage reduction. And whenever my life drops to, like, you know, 5k or something, like below 35%, I get a massive damage reduction boost. We get 43 here, we get 43 here, and we get another 40 up to 48% here. So that is an insane amount. It basically makes me like 8 times more tanky or something. So that is really important. And basically prevents, because you can't get one shot from the Bloodseekers, at least on this build, because you have a lot of toughness. But they will kill you with multiple shots very easily if you're not careful. And that's where the injured damage reduction comes in very handfully, together with our high life pool that we achieve with Grandfather, Harlequin's Quest, and our skill setup. Then we have the weapon. Again, we have one weapon switch, which is the Bone Breaker of Elements here. So 1.6 multiplier of Snapshot, like we talked about. And yeah, then we play Limitless Rage. We already talked about that. It basically guarantees to give you a hammer, another 1.6 multiplier. One important thing that I get asked a lot is the resistance. How do I solve resistance on the Barb? And in practice, it's very easy. You get 2 res rolls on your boots. I like to have lightning res because that's the one that I always want to have maxed out, even if there's like lower res or something. And then any other res, basically. I have poison here, doesn't matter. And then I take my rings with... Actually, I have the wrong setup. I take my rings with shadow res, fire res, and then here, ideally cold res. I don't know why I don't have it right now. I think I might, yeah, I'm playing the wrong amulet here. This is my real amulet. And like what that will do is, with the Paragon board, it will max out everything but cold res. We are in tier 4, if we're in tier 4. But if you still don't have maxed res, or if you're like having lower item power rings, you can also use one of these. I think it's the best instance anyways to pre-buff. It gives you 10 all res and also 1 maximum res. So you have 71 everything when you smoke this. So yeah, you have double res on your boots and you have triple res in your jewelry. That's it. Max res everywhere with this Paragon board. And if you have bad rolls, or if you don't have max cold res, depending on your ring implicits. So basically you want the ring implicits to be a different element than your boots. So you see I have fire and shadow. So this ring gives me 42 shadow res and this one gives me 42 fire res. And I have lightning and poison here. So this is 60, 60, 44, like this is going to be maxed either way. And then the only thing I'm lacking a bit is cold res, which I think is the least important because the amulet does not have an implicit roll. So it doesn't have 12% cold res base, but it has all res. So I'm having actually 12% less cold res than all the other res, basically. But that's fine because cold res I think is the least important. And that's basically how you fix your res. Then on the weapon again, we are rocking overpower. This one is the weapon swap. I get asked a lot if I should put this on a 2-hander. If you don't have Grandfather, you do that. But on average, the 1.6 here is better because a lot of your overpowers are also coming from the Banished Lord amulet. Basically half of them. So only half of them even get the times 1.5 multiplier here, or the times 2 if you were to put it on a weapon. But yeah, again, if you don't have a Grandfather, put this on a 2-hander. Then we have the Doombringer. This one gives you tremendous survivability. It gives you lucky hits. We have like very high chance to lucky hit on our HotA. 50% chance to lucky hit. That's insane. And that works on every target, right? So you just hit 10 targets and you basically have a lucky hit proc. And you're getting damage reduction from the Doombringer, and also you're getting 41% life, which helps you a ton with your overpower damage, because again, if you have more maximum life, your overpower will deal more damage. So 41% life, this one is insane for survivability. Again, if you don't have Doombringer, you can play the Edgemaster here, but you will have some issues surviving on the very high tiers if you don't have Melted Heart on. So Doombringer here is for the non-Melted Heart setup, and it works if you have Doombringer to play without Melted Heart. I think if you don't have any Uber Uniques, like, you can't play this on the high tier. Like, you need at least Melted Heart or like one of the Uber Uniques to give you some toughness, I feel. But yeah, again, you can play the normal setup, and I think you can do a 19 with that. But pushing 20 and higher will be very, very difficult if you don't have a single Uber Unique. But yeah, I might make a challenge at the end, like just go no Uber Unique and clear 24. I think it's possible. But 25, no shot, at least right now with what we know. But again, the community is really coming together, and there's innovation all the time. So we might see some new strategies, some new mechanics, some group meta maybe that does a 25 a bit easier, and then maybe without Uber Uniques it can be done as well. We'll see what the future brings. I'll keep you updated. So yeah, then we have Grandfather. Obviously, this weapon is crazy, doubles your damage and gives you crazy life, crazy all stats. No, nothing more to add here really. And then yeah, on the ring we have the convention cycle. Again, I showed you the snapshot earlier. I see we have the perma 60% here. Everything is up. Pretty crazy stuff. Then we have the Red Furore. We already talked about this item as well. I need to farm a new one. So currently on this ring, I'm going from 1.3, which is max, and I'm only having 1.26. So I'm basically losing 3.1 or 3.2% damage on this ring, because I only have 26 on the secondary. But this one had really good primary stats. So we have max resource gen, we have good fury, all the stuff. But yeah, we are lacking a bit on the secondary. So maybe I need to do some Varshan runs. And then we have the Amulet, Banished Lord Talisman, some big overpower, damage multiplier, and another source to proc your overpower. Again, you can scale this if you attack faster and you spend more fury because you attack faster in less time. Again, you scale this up and you get more overpower procs like that. Then we have the expertise. Obviously, we have the 200x to get another 1.15x. Like, you cannot do the high tiers with all these multipliers. And you're using the 200 mace, which also gives us another 1.15. Very strong. And we have the dual wield here, so we get 100 mace, which gives us a chance to get berserking and damage against stunned enemies, which is really good. And the sword mastery just gives us attack speed and fury, further boosting our attack speed potential with our one-hand sword. And yeah, that's basically the setup and the expertise. Now we go to the abilities. There is a lot of different setups you can do here. So we always have, like, a lot of things are always the same. So you always have lunging strike, you always have 2 points in whirlwind, you always have full maxed HotA. Okay, this one is not, you always have 1 point here, and let's actually just put the guaranteed points. I'll show you. So these points are guaranteed. These two, these two. This one is not guaranteed, this one is not guaranteed. This one is also not guaranteed, because what the Shaco allows you to do, you can use the shouts and have no points in them, basically. I feel this one is also necessary, 12% damage reduction, really strong. And I think in the high tier, this one is also needed, but not in every setup. So this one is always in, it gives you DR and it gives you damage, best one. This one is also in, gives you the highest multiplier, basically. And this one is always in, this one is always in, this one is always in, and this one is also always in. And then this one is variable as well. In the high tier, we might drop the heal. And then you have always Wrath of the Berserk. You always have Unbridled Rage. So we use this one for the crit multiplier. We use this one for the vulnerable multiplier. We use this one for the overpower multiplier. And we use this one here to proc our stuns again. We have a 50% chance to proc our stuns. And what this allows us to do is get another 1.24 multiplier here for even more DPS. Because we need it. But yeah, that's basically the skill tree. So you have like 10 points you can choose as you want. This one is always in. So usually I go with healing, because that's basically my main and only way of recovery if I lose life and run out of potions. And then you need to make a, and this one is also always open. So you need to make a choice now. So what I like to go with is, I like Rallying Cry to get some fury, because it can be tough if you don't have Rallying Cry. like how to even get started, right? Like here, I can't do anything. I don't even get Fury. Look, I can do whatever I want. Like I don't get any Fury. In a practice run, it will be fine because the monsters will attack you. And as you know from all my Immortal Barbs videos, and as you see on the screen, whenever you get hit, you get Fury. But it can be very dangerous. So what I recommend most players to do is at least put the 3 points in Rallying Cry. So you can get a start amount of Fury. So now your Rallying Cry gives you 20 Fury and it gives you another 1.2x resources. So this one I would pick. I also like the War Cry because this one gives us Berserking. We can also get Berserking with our Wrath initially, but if you drop it once or you do a mistake, it's very unforgiving. So I like to put at least these 2 points, and then yeah, this one is very helpful in the Rift or in the run. It doesn't do anything against Bloodseekers because you only have 3 targets. You don't have 6. So this one could be skipped. But I like to have the 10% additional. Like it's basically 10% damage for 7 minutes of the run. So I would pick this one too. And that gives us about 4 skill points to play around with. I think in the very high tier we will need Slaying Strike. But what I like to recommend for most people is put this point here for more life and here for damage reduction. I think this one is just, these ones are just so strong. And if you want to be more defensively, like you can put out like, let's say points here or points here, like lose some damage and get life back. Because without like this life helps you a lot. You can also, if you feel like you have enough resources, you can also drop these to get 18% life, because that is a lot. 6% life is loads. But yeah, that's basically the variations you can do in the skill tree. But I mean, a solid setup that also has good survivability is this. And again, you can switch these or these around to add more Fury generation while you're berserking if you feel like you have Fury issues. But usually, if you do the weapon switches right, like you should not run into any issues here. I mean, right now, okay, I'm running into issues because I pressed my skills in the wrong order. But yeah, you see, like this build is like very optimized and it's like very endgame specific, right? Because without Target's Will, we don't even have good Fury to start our rotation. With Target's Will, of course, it's not going to be an issue because we now get Fury whenever we press our buttons. Oh, I didn't put the right one. But yeah, see, now we have full Fury. But yeah, like there is many nuances to this and many things where you newer players can like screw up, let's say, or like left with a big question mark and like this build doesn't work, right? Like this is not a casual friendly build. It's an end game high optimized build. Okay, so we talked about the skill tree. The last thing is the Paragon board, and oh boy, this one is big as well. We did a lot of optimizations too, and there is a lot of options here as well. So few things that are always there is Warbringer. This one is just needed to get your Fortify right out of the way. And I think it's very cool what Blizzard did, because if you see this Paragon board, we take Warbringer, we take Carnage, we take Blood Rage, we take Decimator, and we take Weapons Master. So I think last patch for Season 2, Blizzard did a great job of actually making the legendary nodes worth picking. Like it's insane, like how good the Barb ones were buffed. I really like it. I gave a lot of feedback on that, and I'm really happy how the Barb boards turned out. Like there is a lot of good ones and lots of different possibilities to go for. So I like it. So whatever there is in is definitely Warbringer. This is your only way of getting fortified. And we spent, as we established earlier, a lot of Fury. We spent 50 and 70 every second, so we spent 120 Fury. This one makes you fortify all the time, all the way. And you are very close to that node anyways, because you want to pick up these Fury nodes here, because these Fury nodes make you scale damage with Wrath of Berserk, because one rune gives you 1% per each additional Fury. And we have 237, depending on the setup. If we use this one, we already have 255, and so on and so on. So this one just gives you more Fury, and more Fury also gives us more Fury back again if we spend it, right? Because 4% of our max Fury is recovered whenever we switch weapons. So this one has like a triple scaling. It gives you just base Fury to perform more attacks. It gives you more order damage. And it also gives you more Fury back again. And if you add Melted Heart to the equation, where your Fury now is your life, it has a quintuple. It has a 4 times scaling. So yeah, Max Fury is the way, and that's also the reason why we always want to use the Elixir of Resourcefulness to pre-buff us. Okay, so Warbringer is always there. These nodes are always there. Decimator, Carnage doesn't necessarily need to be there, but we have a nice synergy here with the level 5 glyph, and this is in range, so it gives us also 3% damage. And it's pretty good to have more attack speed if you sometimes don't get the perfect snapshot. It helps you very much to reach the cap to be able to perform basically one HotA every 0.5 seconds. And then yeah, Weapons Master is always there. Blood Rage is always there because it's a crazy multiplier. And yeah, Decimator, you could kind of skip this, but it's basically 10% damage and then another 10%. So it's actually a 1.21 multiplier. Because you get 1.1 and then you get another 1.1, right? So it's 1.21x damage. 21% more damage, basically, with just one Paragon. That's pretty huge. Okay, so let's start on the starter board. We go the defensive route here. Armor, max life. Max life gives us damage. So all this additive damage, like physical damage, all this kind of stuff is pretty useless because we already are rocking like 3,000 overpower damage or something if you add all the buffs or add all the additive things. So yeah, we don't need any of this. So in the first board here, right now, we are rocking Territorial. This might seem strange to you already, but it's just to give us more damage reduction. And that is only if we play Banished. If you play Melted Heart, the starter board is perfect for glyphs like Crusher, for example. But this board is very optimized for points because we basically are starving for points. So it's going to be very difficult here if you, let's just take Marshall here or some other strength based, and I'll show you what I mean. So if I just want to have, okay, Marshall, like it's the same, or like let's just put Crusher here for now. If we just want Crusher here, fucking hell. If we just want Crusher here, in order to activate it, we already need to spend more points, right? Because there's no way to pass this board that we can get enough main stat without adding extra points. You see, now we need another 15 main stat, and we can't get it. We only have 3 points. We can get 10, which puts it to 35. But now, in order to get the last missing main stat, we need 2 more points, and we already can't do that. So this is gonna be a very hard decision. But yeah, we need to skip it, and we're gonna just put Territorial in. And Territorial is amazing because it gives you damage reduction. Can I build the board again the way I had it? Text. Oh, did we took off the glyph Crusher? Took Crusher back here. And here, yeah. So yeah, we have the Territorial active here. It gives us 10% damage reduction against close enemies, and most of the time enemies are close to us. But yeah, if you want to switch any glyph, it's this one. The other glyphs are very fixed. So yeah, we have the Warbringer board here. Here we have the Ire one. And if you have more points left over, look here, there's an easy pick up. Like if you, I don't know, feel like you don't want to take anything else, you can take another point here. But you see we're already so starved for points that we can't even take this one. Then you have more Fury up here. And then next we have the Carnage board. This is where the Tears of Blood is in, and mine is already at level 78. And it gives me 354% X damage. So it gives me a 4.5 multiplier. And put Wrath there? You could, but you don't need Wrath. Like, what do you need Wrath for? Territorial gives you DR. Wrath gives you nothing. You don't need Fury, you already have Infinite Fury. But yeah, I mean, if you feel like you want Wrath, that's obviously an easy switch, right? But yeah. Wrath doesn't give you damage reduction, and you're usually dying in the high tiers. At least without Melted Heart. But then again, if you play Melted Heart, you don't have damage. Like, you're missing like triple multiplier. But yeah, we have the Tears of Blood here in our Carnage board. And this one has the best nodes in range. So notice we have it fully populated, everything. We're only missing on a few rare nodes. Again, we don't have points, else we would take it. Berserking is amazing, close damage reduction is amazing, but we don't have points. But this one also multiplies 2 of the best nodes here. We get close damage reduction 20%, we get 44 Berserking. Depending on your level, this one will scale up even higher. So we get even more close, and we get even more Berserking. And that's also one of the reasons why I want to drop long-term the close roll here. And I want to get another bleeding DR, because at some point I have too much close damage reduction. Because if something hits me from range, I might die. All right, then we path up here, enraged, beautiful. We have the weapons master board here, and here's a very easy point, one pickup point, 100 armor, 6 auras. This one allows you to be maxed out on all your auras very easily with the setup I showed you earlier. So your Paragon board is very optimal for that. Down here, we have very efficient pathing as well into Blood Rage and in Enraged, and we have the Crusher here for 40, and this is like very optimized already. I don't think it gets any better. Again, if we have more points left, we would like to take another 2% damage reduction, but we just don't have any points right now. That's how this board looks. And then up here on the right, we have the Decimator board. This one is with Undaunted. This is also 4 damage reduction, 10%, and you always fortified again with your Warbringer. So this one is just a flat 10%, but if you either play with Melted Heart, or if you feel like you don't need toughness, the other big glyph we're missing is Dominate. So you could put Dominate into this board. Gives you another 230 overpower, and yeah, if you have points, you can populate more overpower and more willpower. But again, we don't have Paragon points. It's already so staffed. So I like the Undaunted, or I recommend you play Undaunted for the high tier, because else the Bloodseekers will kill you and you will fail the run. But maybe in the 25 we must take Dominate, because again, Dominate gives us a lot of overpower damage, right? Or also if you feel like you want to play Melted, I have a speed variant that I also put a video out for. It plays Dominate instead of Undaunted here. And yeah, that's the Paragon board. So again, there's a lot of things you can switch around, like I said, with the glyphs and stuff. But again, the one that's going to be in the description, is the most optimal one in my opinion. A very defensive board, because you need to be defensive with the Banished Lord, because then Banished Lord unlocks like all your true offensive capabilities. Like you will see when you do a run without Melted Heart and put Banished Lord, like how much damage you do. It is insane how much damage you do with that thing. But yeah, guys, I have all the resources linked. I will keep pushing. I will try to clear 25, and obviously I'll keep you guys up to date. I'm very sorry that the meta shifted so many times. I do my best to keep you up to date, but many people, what the hell, were like super, you know, confused, because there was like so many different new builds and all these kinds of stuff. But yeah, I think we got a pretty solid setup here, and I waited a few days before I made this video, so I was sure I have the right one and the right setup, and I'm not going to change it tomorrow again. But again, I'm pretty sure this setup will be min-maxed even further, especially like the Paragon boards and some nuances. There's a lot of snapshot stuff going on that I explained here, and there's probably a lot more that we don't even know about yet. So the meta will probably shift or refine itself a bit more as the communities are coming together, and I think it's really cool to see. There's a lot of people from the Chinese community and from our community, or in general from Europe, American community, coming together and trying to beat this Abattoir of Zir 25 challenge, which is very hard endgame content, what many people have been looking forward to. I know not everybody is like super happy with the Abattoir of Zir, but I think it has potential. Obviously, there need to be some tweaks. The gem glyph XP buff has been a step in the right direction. I think they could do a bit more of that. I left some feedback to Blizzard as well. I would really like to see the glyph become account wide, so you don't have to level it on a different character again. So I would love to, like, you know, just switch to my Sorcerer Ballerina here and play on her and try the Ball Lightning build. But I'm like basically not motivated to do that right now, because I would have to grind and level this glyph again all the way to minimum 50 or something, right? And it's stupid, because I already did that, and it already took, like, you know, 5 days or something to level it. And this is like a temporary event, so I think it would be really cool to see you know, these glyphs like be account wide. And there's a lot of things wrong with Abattoir of Zir, but I think there is potential there if we give some good feedback and they listen and they make the system just a bit better, like with the community feedback. And we'll see. Season 3 leaderboards are on their way. January 23rd. This is actually next month, guys. Season 3 starts next month. We don't even know the theme yet, so there's a lot of stuff coming. And I'm excited for leaderboards, and I think they can take some good learnings here. I really hope we get also a PTR version. So a lot of these like bugs, like you guys remember, like when all your glyphs lost 2 levels, like all these kind of bugs that happens with the patch, and also like there's some weird mechanics and a lot of things going on. So I just wish there would be like some sort of like test server or something, like public one, like we have in D3. Like everybody can join at once too, can give feedback. And yeah, we can just make the game better together. But yeah, I wanted to put this guide out here really. I hope you enjoyed this overview. I know it's a hard build, it's a hard guide to follow. It was a long video. Really appreciate your patience. And yeah, good luck out there. May the RNG be with you on the high tiers, and yeah, keep smashing, my friends. GG, take care. Hey everybody, it's Rob here. You may notice something differently. I'm actually playing on a controller now. I never played on a controller.
Hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Hello fellow Barbs, this is your boy Armin with the new tech on how to maximize your Whirlwind HotA rotation for the new Endgame content that's awaiting us. So yeah, you don't end up like this fellow Barbarian here struggling with the rotation. So yeah, let's get us started with the quick overview on the changes you need to take in your game settings. First of all, you see my Barb is glowing, and the same thing about my cursor. They look different than yours maybe. The reason for this is you always want to identify your Barbarian and your mouse while you have big stacks of mobs on you while fighting. So to achieve this, all you have to do is you go in your gameplay options, graphics. You might want to change your cursor scale. I changed it from small to medium. This is quite an improvement, and as well you want to turn on the high contrast cursor, and you want to change the color of your cursor if you have not done this already. The next move you want to do is you want to go into your gameplay. The first thing you want to do is turn on highlight the player when obscured. As the name it says, you'll be able to see yourself if there are large packs of mobs on you. And as well, you want to turn on display player highlight. This is the reason my Barbarian is glowing. And as well, you can pick the color you want. I would still recommend the green color because this is the color you will literally not engage in any mob pulls. So these are the colors I'm going with. And as well, you want to go into the game accessibility and you want to turn off the persist target locked. This is actually made for console gamers, but it does actually work on computer as well. And this is a quite downgrade to your Whirlwind HotA rotation, so I would really recommend you to turn this setting off as well. So that is the in-game setting changes you can do. Now let's look into you want to do is you want to changes on check the combined move interact. You want to use your force move interact as your movement key. In this case, I'm using the G502 mouse, the same like Rob. So what we do is we turn off our zoom on mouse wheel, and we use this for force move. So once we scroll our mouse wheel, these are like a lot of force moves, which is quite important. One quite important aspect of canceling the HotA animation. Then I personally prefer playing my Whirlwind on my left click and my HotA on my right click. And yeah, and then of course there's a shift. I play with shift hold position, and that are actually the control changes you have to need to do for this build. Then let's move on to see how the gameplay actually works. This is the gameplay. You run in with your mouse wheel force movement. What I do is I hold down shift the whole time while I'm engaging, hold down left click for Whirlwind, and tap right click for HotA every half or a spin I do. And I will be sure to click your right click on yourself because this cancels your HotA animation and makes it way smoother and faster. So be sure, as you can see, my mouse is always hitting the HotA on my own character. If you don't do this, like in this case, you can see if you click the HotA more far away from yourself, it will have a lot longer loading screen and you will lose movement attack speed while using it. If you play a persist target lock, you have almost the same issue. While in a big mob, the game will choose someone as a target, and the HotA will try to hit him. And if the target is far away, again you will lose movement speed. So all you've got to do is spin, right click on yourself for your HotA, and this way you can clear all the content quite fast. For any further questions, feel free to join us on Twitch, TikTok, YouTube, and we might give you deeper insight. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.